AITA for draining our joint savings after my wife left me for someone younger and said, "Good luck." 15 years of marriage ended with a notification on a cell phone. Chloe's message was short and cruel. She was not coming back from the trip. She had found someone better and younger. And to guarantee a fresh start, she wiped out our joint account, taking $118,000 in one go. My response? Just 2 words. Good luck. What Chloe did not imagine is that I was not in shock. I was ready. Why did I react so calmly to seeing a life savings disappear? And what did Chloe discover about her new love as soon as the money hit the account? Stay with us, because this twist shows that a man's silence can be much more impactful than any argument. My name is Leonard Kessler, 54 years old, and I am staring at my phone in the kitchen of our condo in Des Moines at 11:42 on a Thursday night. My wife, Chloe, was supposed to be on the 4th day of a trip with friends to Palm Springs. The message came with a screenshot of a bank transfer. $118,000 transferred from our joint savings to her personal account. I put my phone aside and finished my coffee. 15 years of marriage ended in 2 sentences and a screenshot. For months there had been signs, weekends away that extended longer. New clothes she never wore around me. Phone calls that stopped when I entered the room. I noticed everything. I am a forensic accountant. Noticing discrepancies is what I do for a living. But I said nothing. Perhaps that was my first mistake. Or perhaps my first mistake was marrying someone who thought my career was just spreadsheets and boring numbers. I opened my laptop and checked one of my email accounts, one that Chloe did not know existed. 3 notifications from my bank's security system. Someone had tried to change passwords on accounts Chloe had never seen. She was being thorough. I had to respect that. I picked up my phone and typed 2 words in response. Good luck. Then I called my brother Jason. Remember that contingency plan we discussed 5 years ago? I said when he answered. It is time. Are you sure? He asked. Yes, I replied. She just made her move. I hung up and looked at the wedding photo on the wall. It was the only photo in the condo that still had both of us. I should have noticed that too. I met Chloe Vance at a University of Iowa alumni event. I was 38, recently divorced from a short first marriage and totally focused on building my forensic accounting firm. Chloe was 34, vibrant, ambitious, and completely uninterested in what I did for a living. I do not need to understand the details, she would say whenever I tried to explain a case. As long as you earn enough for us to live well. We got married after a year of dating. I helped her open her yoga studio, funding the entire business with my savings. When she wanted a bigger house in a better neighborhood, I agreed. When she wanted luxury cars and expensive vacations, I nodded and signed the checks. My father had warned me once. We were fixing his deck, and he stopped, hammer in hand. Son, I notice your wife spends a lot of your money, he said carefully. Just make sure she values what you do to earn it. I shrugged, but the comment stayed in my head. 6 years into the marriage, I began to silently restructure my assets. Nothing illegal, just protective. I created 2 limited liability companies. I established investment funds, trusts, invested in cryptocurrencies, and maintained offshore accounts for international clients. Chloe knew about our joint checking and savings account, but nothing else. I watched as she became increasingly involved in fitness influencer circles. Her Instagram followers grew into the thousands. She started taking trips with her wellness community. First weekends, then whole weeks. You would not like it, she would say. It is just yoga talk and detox juice. Last Christmas, she forgot my birthday. When I mentioned it the next day, she bought me an expensive watch and said, "It is just that I have been so busy with the studio expansion." I accepted the watch, but that night I finalized the paperwork for my contingency plan. The signs were all there. I just did not want to see the full picture. The morning following her text, I woke up early and made coffee, as always. Habits are hard to break, even when your world has crumbled. I logged into my main financial management system, customized for my practice, but adapted for personal use. With a few keystrokes, I activated the contingency protocol that Jason and I designed years before. First, I froze all joint accounts and credit cards. Then I triggered a fraud alert on the $118,000 transfer, using my banking contacts to speed up the process. I sent documentation proving financial misconduct to my lawyer along with instructions to file for divorce immediately. Then I called my mother. Chloe left me. I said simply. She took the money and moved my things out while she was supposedly on vacation. My mother was quiet for a moment. "I am so sorry, Leonard," she finally said. "But I cannot say I am surprised. What are you going to do?" "What I have been preparing to do for years," I replied. "Protect what is mine." An hour later, my phone lit up with Chloe's name. I declined the call. 10 more calls followed. Then a message. "What the hell did you do?" "The money is gone and my cards do not work." I did not reply. Instead, I drove to the storage unit listed in her message. Using the code she sent, I recovered 2 boxes with my clothes and my laptop. The rest of my belongings, family photos, books, keepsakes from my father, were nowhere to be found. That was when something hardened inside me. This was no longer just about money. It was about 15 years being discarded without a second thought. It was about someone thinking they could erase me from my own life. I stopped at a coffee shop and opened my laptop. Using financial databases available only to licensed investigators, I pulled up everything I could find on Trey Harmon. The fitness influencer Chloe had been tagging in photos for months, the someone better she mentioned. What I found confirmed my suspicions. Trey's gym business was drowning in debt, 3 business credit cards at the limit, rent he could not pay, and Chloe had already co-signed a car loan with him 2 months prior. I closed my laptop and drove to a hotel. For the first time in years, I felt completely clear about what needed to be done. I was no longer angry. I was focused. Monday morning, I walked into my office as if nothing had happened. My assistant Valerie looked surprised. "Leonard, I thought you were off. Chloe called here 3 times already." "Is that so?" I said, not as a question. She seemed upset. She said there was a misunderstanding with her accounts and that she needed to speak to you urgently. I nodded. "If she calls again, tell her to contact my lawyer." By noon, Chloe had escalated from calls to showing up in person. The receptionist called my office. "Your wife is here. She is quite insistent." I sighed and went down to the lobby. Chloe was there. Designer sunglasses pushed up on her head. Perfectly coordinated yoga clothes. She smiled when she saw me. The same smile she used for 15 years when she wanted something. "Leonard, there has been a big misunderstanding with the bank," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. "All our accounts are frozen." "It was not a misunderstanding," I said calmly. "You transferred money without authorization. The bank flagged it as fraud." Her smile faltered. "It was our joint account. I am your wife. You are my future ex-wife who emptied our savings while informing me that you had moved out and found someone new. That is classic financial misconduct." Her voice dropped to a hiss. "You cannot do this to me. I already put a down payment on a new place. I made commitments to Trey Harmon." "Yes, I know all about those commitments." Her face went white. "Are you investigating me?" "Just protecting myself from fraud." "I am going to fight this," she snapped. "I deserve half of everything." I looked at her with serenity. "Half of what is in those accounts?" "Sure, but you seem to be under the impression that that is all there is." She blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" "You will find out in the discovery phase of the lawsuit," I said. Then I turned and walked back to my office. That afternoon, I received an email from Chloe's newly hired lawyer, demanding immediate access to all financial records and threatening to expose irregularities in my accounting practice if I did not comply. It was an amateur move, a threat with no substance behind it. I forwarded it to my lawyer with one line: "Proceed as planned." By nightfall, Chloe had rallied mutual friends to her side. My phone filled with messages asking why I was being vindictive and controlling. No one had questioned where she had been the past week or who she had been with. No one asked about the money she took. I did not bother to reply. Instead, I went to the gym. Not Chloe's studio or Trey's fancy fitness center, but the small community center where I had gone for years. I lifted weights until my arms shook. Then I drove back to my hotel room. The trap was closing, but not on me. 3 days later, my lawyer called. "We found something interesting," she said. "Chloe has been siphoning money from your joint account for over a year. Small transfers at first, then larger ones." "To where?" I asked, although I already knew. "Multiple accounts, some to her personal savings, but mostly to a business LLC registered in Trey Harmon's name. Almost $80,000 in total." "And she used our joint funds as the source?" "Yes, which means we can add financial infidelity to the divorce filing." I thanked her and hung up. I was not surprised, but the confirmation still felt like a punch to the gut. Chloe had not just left me for someone else. She had been planning this for over a year, funding her exit and her new boyfriend's business with my money. That night, I received a text from an unknown number. You need to back off. Chloe deserves more than you. Don't make this uglier than it needs to be. Trey Harmon getting directly involved. Interesting. I drove to my brother's house the next morning. Jason worked in digital security, the perfect complement to my financial expertise. We had collaborated on cases before, but this was different. I need everything you can find on Harmon Fitness LLC, I told him. Bank records, loans, credit applications, everything. Jason raised an eyebrow. Legal channels only, right? Of course. We are just connecting public dots faster than most people could. 3 hours later, we had our answer. Trey Harmon was not just in debt. He was broke. His social media portrayed success, but his business was failing. The new equipment, the expansion, the promotional events, everything financed by risky loans and more recently by Chloe's investments. But there was something else, something Chloe could not have known. Look at this, Jason said, pointing to the screen. Harmon applied for a small business loan 4 months ago. He used the gym equipment as collateral. That is normal, I said. Yeah, but look who co-signed. I leaned forward. The document showed Chloe's signature on a $175,000 equipment loan. She co-signed before leaving you, Jason said quietly. But here is the catch. The loan specifies joint responsibility with her spouse. They used your marital status to get better terms. I stared at the screen. She put my assets on the line for his loan without my knowledge. Exactly. And there is more. 3 credit cards, a car lease, and the new lease for the commercial space. All co-signed by Chloe. All using your marital assets as security. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, children were playing in the yard next door, oblivious to the adult complications of the world. She has no idea what she has done, I said finally. And neither does he. The next morning, I met with my lawyer and presented everything we had found. I want to act quickly, I told her, before they realize what is happening. She reviewed the documents and nodded. We will file for emergency asset protection today. The loan fraud alone is enough to freeze everything until the divorce is resolved. That afternoon, I drove to Harmon Fitness. The gym was modern and sleek, with motivational phrases painted on the walls and Trey's face plastered on the entrance. Inside, people in their 20s wearing expensive workout clothes were taking selfies between half-hearted sets. Trey saw me immediately. He was taller in person, with the fake tan and veneers of someone who built his career on appearance. He walked over to me, hand extended, smile perfectly calibrated. You must be Leonard, he said. Chloe mentioned you. I am sure she did, I replied, not accepting his hand. We need to talk in private. His smile faltered, but he led me to his office, glass-walled, visible to everyone but soundproof. What can I do for you? He asked, closing the door. I placed a folder on his desk. This is every financial document connecting you to Chloe. Loans, credit cards, leases, all co-signed using our marital assets as collateral. He picked up the folder cautiously. I do not understand. It is simple. Chloe used our marriage to back your business loans. Now we are divorcing, and those guarantees are invalid. The color drained from his face as he flipped through the pages. These are all legitimate business agreements between Chloe and me. Maybe, but the banks approved them based on our combined assets and income, assets she no longer has access to. He closed the folder. What do you want? Nothing from you. I just thought you should know what is coming. The banks are going to call in these loans very soon. Chloe said you were rich, he said, his voice hardening. This money is not a problem for you. The money was never the problem, I replied. Trust was. I stood up to leave, but stopped at the door. One more thing. When Chloe moved out, she took some items of sentimental value to me. Family photos, my father's watch, things money cannot replace. He stared at me for a long moment. I will see what I can do. I nodded and left. The next day, a courier delivered a box to my hotel. Inside were the missing photos, my father's watch, and other personal items. No note included. That same afternoon, my lawyer confirmed that the emergency asset protection had been granted. All shared assets would remain frozen until the divorce was finalized. I logged into my financial management system and reviewed the alerts. Chloe had tried to access our frozen account 17 times in the last 24 hours. She also tried to open a new line of credit using our house as collateral. Denied. My phone lit up with her name again. This time I answered. What did you do? She demanded, her voice trembling. The bank called in Trey's loans. They are coming to seize the equipment tomorrow. That is unfortunate, I said calmly. This is revenge, Leonard. You are destroying him to get back at me. I am not doing anything to him. I am simply protecting myself from fraud. You used our marriage to secure his loans without my knowledge or consent. That is a serious legal issue. Can we fix this? She said, her voice softening suddenly. Come home. Let's talk. 15 years of marriage and she still thought I could be manipulated so easily. There is nothing to fix, I replied. The divorce will proceed, the fraud investigation will continue, and Trey is going to learn an expensive lesson about due diligence. I ended the call and blocked her number. That night, I slept better than I had slept in months. 3 weeks later, I sat in a conference room while Chloe and her lawyer arrived for our court-ordered mediation. She looked tired, the designer clothes and perfect makeup unable to hide the tension. Her lawyer spoke first. My client is willing to be reasonable about the division of assets, despite the aggressive tactics employed so far. My lawyer smiled politely. That is good to hear, because there has been a development. She slid a document across the table. The bank has concluded its fraud investigation. They determined that Chloe had used her signature on multiple loan documents, leveraging Leonard's assets as collateral without his knowledge or consent. Chloe's lawyer flipped through the document, his face pale. We will need time to review this. Of course, my lawyer said. But you should know that the bank has already referred the matter to the district attorney. This meeting is a courtesy before potential criminal charges are filed. Chloe stared at me, eyes wide. Criminal charges? Leonard, you cannot be serious. I met her gaze firmly. I did not file the charges. The bank did. That is what happens when you commit loan fraud. Her lawyer whispered something in her ear. She shook her head vehemently. If Mrs. Vance is willing to sign our proposed divorce agreement today, my lawyer continued, Leonard is prepared to provide a statement to the bank that could mitigate the criminal implications. He will not press charges for the theft of personal property or the unauthorized transfer from the joint account. I watched as Chloe's carefully constructed world crumbled. She expected anger, jealousy, maybe even pleading. She did not expect consequences. The agreement is generous, I said calmly. You keep your yoga studio, which has always been profitable. You keep your car and personal belongings. You get no alimony, and you assume responsibility for the debts you incurred in my name. And Trey? She asked, her voice barely audible. Mr. Harmon's financial problems are his own, my lawyer replied. But without your husband's assets guaranteeing those loans, from what I understand, the bank has already initiated recovery proceedings. Chloe signed the papers without further discussion. As we left the conference room, she grabbed my arm. I never thought you would fight back like this, she said. You always just accepted everything. That was my choice, I replied. Just as this was your choice. I walked away without looking back. A month later, I moved from the hotel to a small house near downtown Des Moines. Nothing fancy, just a craftsman-style house with good bones that needed some repairs, the kind of project that would keep my hands busy and my mind distracted during the evenings. I heard through mutual friends that Chloe had moved to Colorado to start over. Her Instagram showed mountain views and inspirational quotes about new beginnings. Trey's gym had been sold to a national chain, and he moved to Miami to expand his brand. Neither mentioned what had happened. People rarely announce their failures. My brother Jason stopped by on a Saturday to help me install new cabinets in the kitchen. Heard anything from Chloe? He asked while we measured the hinges. No, I said, and I do not expect to. You know, you could have taken everything from her. The fraud charges alone would guarantee that. I shrugged. What would be the point? She is no longer my problem. We worked in a comfortable silence for a while. The rhythm of measuring, cutting, and installing created a meditative state. I am thinking of taking some time off, I said eventually. Maybe drive up to Minnesota, do some fishing at the cabin. Dad would like that, Jason replied. You have not been there since he passed. That night, after Jason left, I sat on the back porch with a glass of whiskey. The neighborhood was quiet, with only the occasional bark of a dog or the laugh of a child breaking the silence. Different from the fancy community Chloe insisted on, but real somehow. I thought about the last 15 years. How I allowed someone else to define my life, my worth. How I noticed the signs but chose to ignore them. How when the moment came, I was prepared, because a part of me always knew this day would come. I did not feel victorious. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt free. The next morning, I called my office and said I would be taking 2 weeks off. Then I packed my bags in my truck, locked the house, and headed north. No itinerary, no expectations, just the open road. And for the first time in years, no invisible ledger of resentments to balance. Comment. What really stands out to me in this story is the quiet dignity in Leonard's response. It shows that protecting your peace does not always demand loud arguments. Sometimes, the greatest act of self-respect is setting a firm boundary with quiet resolve. He took responsibility for his own security long before the situation reached a crisis. I think there is a powerful lesson here about acting from a place of principle, not just pain. He reminds us that you can be both kind and firm at the same time. He chose his own healing over the satisfaction of revenge. I hope this reminds you that you have the power to protect your heart and your future. Choosing peace is not a weakness. It is a profound strength. True wealth lies in your integrity and in the peace you build for yourself. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.